Alright, so I'll just put away my bulk spices as part of my like initial prep, is put away all the groceries. I'm not sure how exciting this will be, but maybe I'll make a mess and then it'll be really exciting. So anything that I get out of the bulk section, which is a lot, has to get put away. So this actually takes a decent amount of time, but it's better than having to do it once a week, which is how I used to shop. It's much better for me to just do it all at once and be done and have everything ready. And I don't always fill up the spices. Like, spices are one thing that I just kind of check before I go, and I make sure if there's any that are low that I need, that I can get them. And I was low on a few this week. So this is chili powder, and these are little spice jars that I got from IKEA. You get 4 to a set, and I really like them. I'll show you how I organize these in another video, but there's the chili powder that I got, and we'll do basil. Let's see, hopefully I didn't get too much extra. I try to be pretty accurate in my guesstimations of how much I need, so I don't have to store an extra little baggie, but I'll just kind of use it up if I need to. And if it's just a little bit, I know I'm terrible, but sometimes if there's just a teeny bit left in the bag that doesn't fit, I'll just toss it, because it drives me crazy to have all the extra stuff. I'll make it fit as best I can. Okay. Did good there. See, like, I'm not going to store a bag for this much extra chili powder. I'm just not going to do it. Okay, so basil and chili powder are put away. I'll have to do the others, but I just wanted to pop in and show you how I start putting away my bulk stuff. Alright, so one of the things that I do when I get home from the grocery store, I showed you the spices, but I also put away other bulk stuff. So I use these XO containers for some of the stuff, and then I also use just like canning jars. So I'll fill up the bulk things that I'm not using right now, like the macaroni. Hopefully this fits in here without going over. Perfect. So now I have that ready to go in my pantry, and I have egg noodles that I need to refill. Okay, so now I have egg noodles ready to go. And then for my rice, I have more rice than what will fit in here, but I'll be cooking some of this up right away to use for like freezer meals and stuff. So this will just kind of be like the extra stuff I have on hand for some other meals later in the month, or just if I like to just keep some pantry staples on hand. So, oops. Well, you can do this without making a giant mess. And so I'll just keep grains like rice and lentils and pasta, that kind of stuff. I like to just have some of it on hand also. So that's what this is. This jar will be, so I just have it on hand, and then when I need it later in the month. And then, normally I wouldn't have this much rice, but I have a few different meals for it this time. So then I'll just use this extra in this first weekend of cooking, so it'll be fine, and I won't have to store that extra bag. But now I have all my stuff ready to go in my pantry, and it'll be nice and neat instead of in ugly bags. What I'll show you real fast is, I get my, like, I put my bulk stuff away, like I just did, but then I also got these bins from the Dollar Tree, and I'll put all my stuff together. So I have a bin for snacks and different things. This is my, like, I don't know if you can see my little label, like grains and beans and stuff. So I have the rice I just filled. Here's some oats, rice cereal for making granola bars. This is some, what is that, like cream of wheat that I just have left over from before. So anyways, I have this basket that I can put in my pantry, and I'll show you my pantry, how it's set up. But Just a little tip I wanted to show you. This one is for lentils, but I don't have lentils right now. I didn't need any lentils. Lentils isn't something I necessarily keep on stock in my pantry at all times. And so this time I didn't buy any. But I do keep the empty jars for items like lentils in my pantry. So that way I don't have a cupboard of just like random empty jars, and then, you know, if I'm canning or do something, then I realize I don't have enough jars or enough containers for when I actually have something. So things that I use frequently, I will keep an empty jar for. Just this way, if I need lentils or whatever, it's already here and ready. So I have that for a few different things, and I'll show you that when I do my pantry, but just letting you see that little tip is then I don't have to have like a whole cupboard space for empty jars, and then when if I accidentally put something else in here and then I fill it up and then I go get lentils and I don't have room, this just helps keep things as I need them, so I know that this lives in here whether there's any in there or not. I keep my nuts in jars also in the fridge, just because they go rancid outside of the fridge. I'll just fill this up for later, but also I also know that I will be using some of this for granola and different things anyway, so this bag won't be just sitting in my fridge later. Put that aside. I like these plastic lids too, just the one piece. They don't rust and stuff like the regular lids, but these I sometimes use my vacuum sealer on, so if I want to store something so that there's no air in it, I use these. Like for chocolate chips, I'll probably use this type of lid, and that way it won't get that white film on the outside of it when it's exposed to air, so it'll keep my chocolate chips better longer. So I'll probably do that, but for other things I like those white lids just because they work really well. Some of those sunflowers in here, but I won't need all of them. I'll be using some of them for those sunflower burgers. And I'll just fill up my stash anyways. Always making a mess, which is why my dog is hanging around by my feet right now, waiting for a treat. Here, you want a seed? Here. This is another reason why it's good to do everything all at once. You have less mess to clean up instead of me making a mess every single week. No, I just do it once and then I'm done. Okay, nuts and seeds are done. I'm gonna mix chai spice right now just to have on hand, and then also because it is for my smoothie. I don't know if you guys are interested in watching all this, and if you're not, I don't feel bad if you fast forward or whatever, but I'm kind of weird and I like to watch people do their whole process because sometimes I learn something just along the way that I would not have learned had I not watched. Okay, another thing I'm going to do is separate the cereal out into some portions so that my husband has grab-and-go breakfast in the morning. Sometimes I will do like I'll make like eggs and potatoes and bacon or cheese and put those in a Tupperware container and freeze them, and that way I can just throw one of those in his lunch. he eats breakfast and lunch at work because he works early and he just gets up and goes. So that way I can take one of those out of the freezer and put it in his bag, and it's just a quick and easy breakfast. So that's some of the stuff that I'll do ahead of time, but I don't have that planned for this month for him. So this month will be more oatmeal, cereal, and we have some frozen breakfast burritos. So, but that's just another idea, is to make freezer breakfast things, and that way you can just pop those out also. So, but for this month we're going to do some cereal for breakfast. So I'll just have these ready to go for him. So that's another thing that I'll do. If I can open it. Once again, I told you I don't really buy the store-bought brands, or not store-bought. I don't usually buy the brand name. I usually just buy the store, like, cheap things. So this pretty much tastes the same, at least to our palate. You can't really tell the difference, and it's quite a bit cheaper than buying name brand cereal. And I've said before, we don't eat cereal really hardly at all. It's not usually one of our things we keep in our house. I know some people will eat a lot of cereal, and that's fine, but just usually not what we typically do. So I'm going to continue with this, and then I will move on to the next thing for you. So one of the things I'm doing really quick is just using up some of the old chocolate chips I had. And I don't know if you can, let's see. Can you see how there's like a white film on the outside of it? That's just because it's been exposed to air. So that's why I'm going to keep my new ones in a mason jar that's sealed with my food saver, and that way air can't get in and it won't do that. But anyways, I'm making my husband some little oatmeal packs to take to work with just the leftover chocolate chips, a couple almonds, and then some fruit powder. This is just raspberries, cherries, and blueberries that I had dehydrated and then ground up in my spice grinder to make like a fruit powder, and basically it'll just rehydrate and make it like a fruity oatmeal. But in the meantime, this doesn't have to be refrigerated or anything. These are just like healthy, well, there's chocolate chips in there, but healthy packs, oatmeal packs that he can keep at his desk or whatever for work, that doesn't need to stay refrigerated. And it will have berries and almonds and chocolate in it. So that's one use for this dehydrated fruit powder. I also put this like in yogurt and stuff. If I don't have any fresh or frozen fruit, you can just use dehydrated fruit, and in my case I powdered it. So just a use for this. Okay, so I'm just going to start fast forwarding things to fit it in here, but this is just me mixing up some ranch seasoning. The recipe is from How Jen Does It. She has a YouTube channel. Anyways, it's really good, so I make this. Next, I'm going to get some kiwis ready. I'm going to dehydrate these, so I just I wash them, and then I scoop out the flesh, and then I will slice them into somewhat equal parts so that they're not too thick, so that they dehydrate at similar times. But these make really good, like, gummy kind of candy. So I'm just putting them on the tray. And that's one tray of kiwi, and now I'm going to do these canned mandarin oranges. I've rinsed them off just a little bit to get rid of some of the juice, but I'll dehydrate those as well. And now I'm going to get some strawberries ready. I need these for my date balls, so I just microwave them a little bit to thaw them out. And I'm going to slice them up, and this will also be ready for me to put on the dehydrator so that I can have strawberry powder. So now I'm going to take these to my dehydrator, and I'll show you what those couple trays of fruit look like in the dehydrator. I have an Excalibur. It's fairly new. I've only had it a couple months, but I really like it. So Here are the strawberries, here's the kiwi, and here's the mandarin oranges. And those will all go in. They'll be overnight. The mandarin oranges will take the longest, but I'll check on them in the morning. So I'll just have to put the door on there. And there you can see it's an Excalibur. It's a 9 tray. And then I'll just turn this knob here to, I think it's 135 for fruits. So I'll leave that on and check it in the morning. Here it is in the morning. Here are my dehydrated kiwis. I'll just take them off and put them in this jar and then close it so they're airtight. And here's what they look like. All that filled up one half, I think that's, is it a half pint? No, 1 pint jar. They're pretty nice. They're like a gummy candy. Alright, now I'm just going to start cleaning some of my fruit, so I'll get the apples cleaned. I'll clean the other fruit too, but you won't see it, but I just have it sit in that Trader Joe mix. Meanwhile, I'm making peanut butter. I just put peanuts in there, and then sometimes I will add a little bit of salt, and then I'll put it in a jar. And my Vitamix does a really good job for me of making this nice and smooth and creamy. So I like to make it really smooth, and here's kind of what that looks like. Perfect, smooth, creamy peanut butter with no additives. I'm also going to do almond butter. Almond butter is a little bit more dry. Some people add oil to it, but I don't. It's just almonds. But you'll see that it's a little bit thicker, more like crumbly and a little bit drier, but it will still spread on toast or whatever. So here's the almond butter. Now I'm going to work on some honey sweet rolls. I use these rolls for like my burger buns or just for like a roll at the side of dinner. So I'll put these in my Bosch mixer. That dried mix is already ready, so it's just simple to put wet ingredients and then add the dry stuff. Mix it up for 5 minutes and I'm going to let it sit. Meanwhile, I will make my granola. This is 100daysofrealfood.com, her granola. I've never made it before, but it sounded pretty good, and once I tried it, it was very tasty. So you should check out her blog, 100 Days of Real Food. So this is the granola being made. Here you have to like melt the butter and heat it up, and then that's what holds it all together. So mixing this up, it made quite a big batch. I have a half-gallon ball jar plus another like half. So that should last us quite a while to use it on cereal, use it as cereal or on yogurt, something like that. And then you just put it in the oven for a little while. Meanwhile, my dough is ready to cut, so I'm cutting it into, I think I have about 16 rolls there, and I'm going to roll it out. And that will sit and rise for, it rose for an hour the first time, and now I'll let it rise for 30 minutes. And when that's done, I will put an egg wash on it and put sesame seeds on top, and then I'll bake it for 20 minutes. And then my rolls will be done, and I freeze them after they're cooled, and I can pop out just as many as I want, and they're nice and fresh. So these will get baked after they've risen. Here I am getting them ready. I don't think you'll see them baked though, but I'll bake them and then freeze them. And they'll rise more in the oven. Here is my granola being done. I'm just getting it all put away, and I put them in these half-gallon mason jars. Like I said, I like storing stuff in these jars. They hold quite a bit. And now I'm going to cook the rice so that I can get started on my burritos. These are, I think they're called Blessed burritos. They're from A Little Insanity. She has a YouTube channel. She does a huge batch. This should make around 40 burritos or so. They're very good. I've made them a few times. So I'm mixing up everything for that. Make sure if you go find her recipe, make sure you use a giant bowl because it makes a lot, and this is only a half recipe. These make really good freezer burritos. I usually just make a whole bunch, and this will probably last more than just a month. And I'll use these to fill in when we don't have leftovers for lunches, then I can just throw one of these in for my husband's lunch. And that way, I don't have to think about lunch or anything like that. But you can see that bowl is really full. So I just get out my plastic wrap and I start loading up and folding away. Alright, I'm just going to write down on my bag some of my freezer meal names so that I can just load them up. So I'm getting those ready. I'm hanging up my recipes, getting my other recipe from my book so that I can just prep that. And here I have to prep the vegetables before I can actually do anything to get the freezer meals ready. So I will just wash and chop vegetables. I love this chopper. There's a whole bunch of different brands. This one I think is Progresso or Progressive or something. Anyways, it chops really fine. There's 3 different pieces you can slice, chop big or chop small. I love these small little pieces. They're all uniform. They make great like salsa or little teeny pieces to put in eggs or anything. So I'll just chop up everything all at once and get it in its container so I can use it later. I will actually end up dehydrating a lot of those peppers for later and the onions, and that way I can add them to soup or just rehydrate them later, but they're all prepped and ready and they won't go bad throughout the month. So here's some onions for my meals that I have to make, some of my freezer meals, so now I just can throw those in the bag or cook them. Here I'm doing leeks. Leeks are interesting. They grow in the sand, so there's a lot of sand grows between those layers, so I like to separate them and then wash them. So that's an interesting little colander thing that I have to wash stuff. It works pretty good for small amounts. So I'll just wash the leeks off. And same with the celery. I'm going to try to chop the leeks here with this, but it's too fibrous, so I decided to just cut it instead. It'll just be faster and easier. So I'll cut up the leeks and get those ready. Those are for the tomato soup, and I believe they're in corn chowder also. Alright, so here I'm starting the tomato soup so I can get that cooking and ready to freeze. Has cream in it, so it's not the healthiest, but man, this tomato basil soup's great. It's a recipe from a restaurant, a local restaurant where I live, and it's really good. It's one of my go-to soup recipes. I love to have some on hand in the freezer. Over here, I'm also going to start working on my quinoa corn chowder, which is a freezer meal, so I just have to get some of the stuff cooked and ready, and then I'll add the rest of it to a freezer bag. So I like to do as many things as I can at once. You can't really tell in this video, but generally most of the time I have 2 or 3 things going on at a time. Actually, I believe that the timer is counting down my buns being cooked while I'm doing these 2 things as well. So we're just working on cooking up this corn chowder and this soup. That's frozen corn from Costco. That stuff's really good. I really like it. I haven't tried this corn chowder recipe yet. It's a new one, so I'm hoping it'll be good, but it's a quinoa corn chowder they make in the crock pot. So you just get some of it ready and then mix in some dried quinoa, stick it in the crock pot, and it should be good to go. So we'll see how that goes. That yellow bowl there, I like to stick my Ziploc bags in, and it just kind of keeps them upright, and then I can add the stuff to it. So when I'm making freezer meals, I'll do that. I use that bowl to kind of hold the bag. So that is the corn chowder that's getting completed. Everything's going in the bag, writing extra directions to make sure I know what I'm doing when I thaw it. But that one should be just about ready to go. I'm going to add a few more ingredients, and then on the day that I use it, all I have to do is literally dump it into a crock pot and it will be ready to go. So that's done, and now I'm going to prep a sauce for another crockpot meal. This one is for a broccoli brown rice and cheddar. And then I have pistachio balls, strawberry powder, and burritos. Okay, well, that's it. My battery died, so sorry about the quick wrap up, but thanks for watching and I hope you learned something. Here's a list of what didn't get filmed.